Hi, I am retired professional triathlete TJ Tollakson, CEO of Diamond Bikes, and it's that time of year. I'm wearing a buffalo coat. It is snowing. I think the high temperature today is like 16 degrees or something like that.
What blizzard? It's a couple of flakes!
Which means one thing, Happy New Year to everybody. But more importantly in the triathlon world, that means this is dream/planning season. And so today's video is on how does a pro triathlete plan a year? So let's look at the pro process first. This is a pretty common question pro athletes get about how do they plan which races they do. So the first one that I talk about is to always look at your long-term goals. So if one of your long-term goals is to win the Ironman World Championships, well then racing in the Ironman World Championships should probably be one of your A races every year, because it's very seldom that any athlete has shown up to Kona in their first year and actually won that race. Let's look at your big picture, your development. Other athletes, including me for a large part of the career, said, look, Kona's not going to be the focus of my year this year for whatever reason. For me, it happened to be at the time when you had to collect points to go to Kona. So that becomes an important part, is to look at your long-term plans and then to pick races accordingly. So if the goal is to try to maximize your prize money, you should probably be picking out races that have large prize purses. So once you have your long-term goals in mind, the next thing that you'll probably do is look to schedule A races that suit your strengths. And so what do I mean by suit your strengths? Well, if you're a big athlete that does really well in aerodynamic races and not so well in the heat, you probably want to pick races that are relatively flat and avoid super hot, humid conditions, right? So, I'm not saying that that's me in particular.
Right.
But yes, that was me for a long period of time. I didn't necessarily want all flat races, but if you look at my record of half Ironman wins, winning Eagleman and Florida Gulf Coast, you could say that I did really well in half Ironmans in flat, windy courses, primarily because I'm a student of aerodynamics more than anything else. You look for those races that suit your strengths, and then you might also look for some of those races that can help you build strength. So things that you need improvement, also known as your areas of weakness. There's a saying that's really important: train your weakness, race your strength. So what does this exactly mean? You should train your weakness, being whatever thing you're weakest at. If you're weak in the heat or you're weak on hills, you should spend extra time training on those things. And then in the race, capitalize on the things that you do well. Well, this also happens to go for a lot of B-level races. So for your B-level races, let's say you want to race well in Kona, so you pick a hot, humid 70.3 race like Cartagena, Colombia, which is going to be way hotter than Kona, as a preparation race to help validate some of the heat training that you're doing and make sure that you can execute a race in similar conditions. So those are two kind of important considerations. The third one that every pro must consider are sponsor obligations and input. I can tell you that a lot of times sponsors are pushing athletes to race at either 70.3 or Ironman World Championships. They also might have some other races, and probably the perfect example right now is next year is the inaugural Des Moines Ironman. Right here, the course is going to go very close to our world headquarters in Des Moines, Iowa. And so of course, I want Diamond sponsored athletes to show up and race this course here so we can highlight them in our hometown, really make a big deal out of this, spend some time. We're gonna have an open house at the factory. They can be here, be a part of that. So sponsor input is always an important part, because a lot of times those sponsors are going to put up extra prize money, extra bonus money, or appearance money to make this happen.
Wait, what?
Along with that sponsor input comes financial incentive from the race itself. Whether that be Ironman or Challenge or the PTO or an individual race director, athletes are given appearance fees to show up at certain races. Certainly not getting rich off of it, but the downside is a lot better, so you're not losing a ton of money. The last part of this really is that your coach is going to have input through this whole process. From the first step through the last one that I mentioned, there'll be a lot of back and forth with your coach. A lot of things that come into play that your coach will want to help plan out, because after all, your coach is going to design your training schedule, so they kind of need to know where those A races fall, where those B races fall, what your travel schedule looks like.
Yeah, do we have any goals this season? Absolutely. We're going to win a lot of games. We're going to get in the playoffs.
No playoffs.
There's no playoffs. Again, my job just got a lot easier.
And so your coach is going to really dial in that process. And by all means, December, January is the time when most pro athletes are going through this process. Tricky part is, even in January, we don't know the full pro calendar schedule for that year. So 2022's pro schedule is still not fully built out. Makes it challenging, so athletes have to be able to adapt and adjust on the fly, just like in an Ironman race. The number one tip that I can say when you plan this is try to make all your goals process-oriented, not outcome-oriented. So it's really great to say that you want to show up and you want to win this race or win that race or be first in your age group or qualify for Kona. The hard part about that is it takes you out of the equation in terms of what you're able to do, okay? Who knows? If Jan Frodeno suddenly retired and showed up and competed in your age group, you'd probably have a hard time winning that race, right? Same time if he just shows up and does any regular race. You can't control who shows up on race day, and you can't control the performance of anybody else on race day. What you can do is focus on your own processes, either before the race, during your training, during your build-up, and in the race itself. So, focus on your own processes. So your process goals might be something like, I want to swim 3 days a week, every week of the year, at least 3 days a week. That would be a very good process goal into helping you achieve an outcome goal of, say, qualifying for Kona. It might be, I want to do prehab routine to avoid injury 3 times every week, no matter what. And again, is that going to help you win a race? Well, it's going to make sure you get to the start line healthy. So while you can't win a race by doing prehab, you can help get to the start line and prevent you from losing the race by doing it. What are the other kind of important things? Focus on your key training goals more than individual sport goals. It's more important to say, I have this really killer workout that my coach does every 6 weeks, and I want to master this, or I want to improve my average power on the bike, or I want to swim this in the pool. And why I say that's more important than, say, I want to register for an open 5K or an open marathon and run this. Running an open marathon is great if you want to be good at running an open marathon, but if your goal is to maximize your performance as a triathlete, how fast you run an open marathon has very little bearing on how well you will race as a triathlete. So focus more on these training sessions. So what's it like to run on tired legs? What's it like to do your Saturday session with a long ride and a run off, and then your Sunday long run when you're tired? That's going to have better indication of success in triathlon than any of these individual events. The last thing that I wanted to say on here, oh yeah, this is the big one. This is the big one right here. Think about all your goals, map out what you want to do, and now this is the time to think about your equipment changes, your uniform changes, your helmet changes, sunglasses, nutrition. If you want to do a new bike fit, now's the time to do a new bike fit. August, 3 weeks before your key race, bad time to do a new bike fit, bad time to jump on a new bike. The earlier you get involved in this process and plan, the more success you will have throughout the year. So with that being said, happy dream season to you. If you're interested in a new bike, some free speed upgrades, let me know. I've got other videos that cover top tips on how to make your bike faster. If you want to see some more content, let me know in the comments below and we'll try to get that out to you. Happy dream season, happy new year.